Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Rydell, actor and now podcast host, I guess. That guy you've seen on a million TV shows and movies, but you still do not know my name.
And I'm David Allen Bache, actor and sometimes producer, and you also recognize me from lots of films and TV shows, but you probably couldn't name one of them right now if I paid you to.
The two of us and our guests are going to let you in on some secrets on how to make it as an actor and share some private stories from the many movies and TV shows that we've worked on.
That's right, we're going to interview a special guest each week, and we'll get their best advice and wisdom for you about how to break into this business and how to stay in it. And yes, again, there will be stories, stories, stories. So, let's get to it.
This is Confessions of a Working Actor.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Good to see you, my friend. I was reminded recently by a friend who has a podcast, and she said, well, you're asking everyone in the beginning to give you a like, or if they're on YouTube, like a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, hit the 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I said,
we don't do that.
We don't do that. We absolutely refuse to do it unless we just did it right now. And please, anyone listening, do all those things.
So we're doing that, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we're doing that now. Maybe at the end, I'll also not say it. Okay, we're back, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Here we are for another week of what's it called? Confessions of a
Working
Confessions
Actor.
of a Working Actor. Yeah, I don't feel like a working actor. I just got back from a set, and I had sort of that downtime of like, aw, you know, like you can go and be working for a minute, and then you're like, and now I'm not working.
We actually have somebody on today who has worked a lot.
Oh God, has she? She really has, and she is, I would dare say, the single most passionate activist that I know besides my wife. And the two of them may actually be comparable. They have some crossover in the areas that they are of service. And I think that's really important too, being of service as an artist, because we do have downtime, right? We do have time where we're not acting. And in between gigs, what do we do? And if I think, for me, I'm curious about you, what you think, Chris, but if we just focus on ourselves, we can tend to get into some spirals there, a little dangerous thinking. And when I stop thinking about myself, when I try to go be of service and help other people, good for them, good for the world, but also gets me out of my own brain, you know?
I think this is what it's all about, actually. When you help others, being able to know that you're doing something that's maybe changing the way people are treated or treat themselves is really important, I think.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, that's a perfect segue, because this week's guest is not only a brilliant actor, but she is really also a brilliant activist.
If I'm not mistaken, she received a SAG-AFTRA President's Award.
Yep.
For her union service. And
That
we'll get
is
into
correct.
that a little bit later. But I have a feeling you have some rough math for us.
I do. I've wanted to do this for so long. So here we go. Let's see. All right, ready? So everybody listening, just don't count as we go. This is just going to be a quick thing. Here we go. Law & Order SVU 25 episodes, Another World 52 episodes, Leap Years 20 episodes, The Glades 43 episodes, Blindspot 27 episodes, Hawaii 5 8 episodes, Daredevil 6 episodes, Star Trek Picard 19 episodes, and that's only a few of her very many credits. I completely chose them at random, and hello, that was 200 episodes of television right there.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Let's welcome Michelle Hurd.
Hi guys. Wow. That was that's crazy.
You impressed you.
I impressed me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's funny you said that Star Trek, because I was like, well, that's third season hasn't dropped yet, so there'll be
I know there'll be
30,
more.
No, but that's
Well,
It's
we've
funny-
talked to a lot of actors, and I got to say, like, working actor, boy, you're busy. That's what a gift, what a blessing.
yeah. It's funny you were just talking about what it feels like when you come back from work and you have that lull. There's also the other way when you really, you're trying to get a gig and you get the gig and you're like, yes, I got the gig. And then you're going to go away for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever. And that week before you leave, you're like, I don't want to go.
I like my bed. I
like my bed.
Hopefully, I like my family. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right. That's right.
But yeah, and the activism thing, it's such an interesting path that has found me, or we have found each other, because I don't know if I had thought that's what I was going to be doing when I got out of college and started jumping into this world. But I really quickly sourced that when you're on a set and you have a little bit of power, I think you have a responsibility, to take care
Yeah.
of everybody else. You're already taken care of. You're on the call sheet. You have a little bit of stature, and if you can advocate for everybody else, um, it's the best work you can do. I'm so much more interested in helping the many and not interested at all in helping the few. The few are
man.
fine. They can take care of themselves. Let's help the many who don't have voices.
Wait, hang on, I'm writing that down. That's got to go in the episode description. That quote. When you have power on a set, how do you use it for good? I love that. And we're going to talk more about that. But what about how you started before there was a sense of like I have power to change things? Tell us a little bit about some of the early jobs you did, how you got started in the business.
Yeah, I think, it's funny because now I think that everything happens for a reason. And when I was a teen, I grew up in Greenwich Village, New York. I'm a native New Yorker, a biracial child. My father's Black, my mother's white. Grew up in a time when being biracial wasn't as cool as it is now. Thankful that I grew up in the Village because the Village was filled with just artists and gays at that time. And, anybody who had problems with people who were in the taboo kind of world would, get out of the Village. We were able to support each other. Even under that sort of world, I definitely had my little delinquent time, and I was a little, problem child, and I always, whenever I talk about my past, I'm always like, why was she so angry? Why are you so angry? And I think there's something about teenagers, particularly, that are, they desire to have a voice and to have their own opinion and their independence. And sometimes they find themselves in groups that they feel they're empowered by. Sometimes it's the wrong path, but really what they're doing is they're looking for their own place. They're looking for their identity. During my little delinquent kind of world, my parents were freaking out. They're like, what are we going to do? Should we send her away? What happens? And I stumbled into martial arts. My father was a martial artist. And I'm so thankful for that because of karate, I learned dedication and respect and how you can achieve if you just apply yourself. So it was really because of and I answered, or I solved that thing of the teenager trying to find their own space, because it was my dojo. It was my space, my dojo family. And it made me feel seen and heard. So because of martial arts, I kind of got myself together and I applied to some colleges, to acting schools, and I was accepted to Boston University. And I got to tell you, like when I went to different colleges like SUNY and Oberlin, and and by the way,
like when you went to see them, like when you went
when
to,
I went to see them,
and
and I saw this sort of campusy, grass and trees. I was like, oh, I don't know. This is no, native New Yorkers are like, I don't need to be in the trees in the forest. I don't know. What's that sound?
Yeah.
I need.
What is this thing called a suburb?
Oh,
that's right. You don't know what that is.
I don't know what you're doing. So when I got to Boston and I was on the train, and it came up on Comm Ave and, crested, and I saw all of this activity and this life and this city, that was surrounding this college. I thought, yep, this is where I can achieve, or I can.
I went to school around the corner from you at Emerson College.
Ah, there you go.
And I felt the same way about Boston. It was like, it was Beantown, but it had a great subway. It was like slightly smaller than New York, slightly less expensive. Yep. If I got lost on the subway, I wasn't likely to be in imminent danger.
That's right.
It was wonderful, and it was a great place for me to go right after New York City. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's exactly what I did. And when I got out of college,
did you do a lot of theater in college? Did you do a lot of shows in college?
It's interesting because I just got back from Boston last week, where they just gave me a Distinguished Alumni Award, which was very honoring. And
we're going to add in. We're adding in applause now. Yes. The engineers are putting in applause and cheers. Okay,
thank you. And it was really wonderful to go back there and talk to the students. And they asked me about my time in school, and I was very honest with them because my time at BU was frustrating. I was one of 3 people of color in my class, and and I was cast as every single ethnic character, and it literally drove me, batty, because the one thing that I tried to explain to the teachers is that I have no problem being a minority. That's so easy. Like I walk into a room and I got that done. Like people are like, minority, copy that. I don't have to do anything.
Right.
I went to college, and just for an example, I went to college for the opportunity to play Juliet. Whether I wanted to or not, that for the opportunity to play Juliet, not the maid, Juliet.
Yeah, and the
And the
craft, and the
young,
learning, and the craft, and
all
everything
of
that comes
that.
with that opportunity, right?
Exactly. And the girls that they were giving that part to, our money is the same. So I didn't, and I literally, I mean, there was a moment where I feel like all the teachers and deans of the school, like when they saw me coming, they would be like, oh my God, here's Michelle, lighting cigarettes, like, hi, Michelle. Cause I was just like a rabble rouser. I was really mad. I mean, and to, use this is a quote from a play, so it's not like I'm just throwing out language here, but my senior year, they were doing Three Sisters on the main stage, which I had done Natasha in high school. So I was all excited. They didn't even see me for that. They're like, no, Michelle, we picked a play for you. We picked a play for your senior year here at this university. Great. What's the play? It's called Open Admissions, where myself and Greg, the other Black man in the show, had lines like, I literally said this in my senior year. Ooh, child, you some crazy nigga. It must be 5011 below in here. I still remember that line. In my senior year at a conservatory,
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, when I graduated, I always say I was emancipated. And I came out with such a tenacity, with such a vigor, with such a hunger to work, because I literally felt like I had been sidelined,
throttled, stifled, yeah,
stifled. And
Absolutely.
I just was like, let's do this. And I'm thankful for that, because I came out with, an understanding that I have something to offer. It is important to hear this voice and to see this. It's funny, one of the first commercial campaigns I did, it's strange, was Always with Wings, maxi pads. Thank you very much. But it was a full campaign, and I did like, I don't know, 6 spots plus, back in the day when we did campaigns more, plus print and all that stuff. And I had so many young women of color come up to me on those, on the street. It was the strangest thing, because they'd be like, always maxi pad lady. And I'm like, hi, I'm waving about periods. Okay. But they would come over because it was literally like a close up in a black box. And it was just a woman of color talking about maxi pads. But it was important. And, and it's one of the conversations I had with Cunningham, my commercial agents, I had with all my agents.
Yeah.
That,
CESD,
optics,
I was with Cunningham for a little while there. Yep,
optics matter. Optics matter.
Yeah.
It really, if we don't, like the moment when Obama was elected, I have 2 gorgeous brown nephews, beautiful creatures. And the moment when he was elected, my sister and I cried, not just because of the phenomenon of the situation, but because I remember going to school, and in our school, we had the pictures of the presidents, the little pictures across the top of the classroom, that's, you just sat and you'd see Washington, and, you'd see them all. And all I could think of is like, from this moment forward, there's now a Black man up there. So subconsciously, consciously or subconsciously, now a child can see themselves,
consciously,
and the the possibility that they can do whatever. So, that's one of the biggest reasons that I've been very picky about the parts I play. I want to, young brown and Black kids to see a strong individual, a boss, a person who could be like, even for Rafi in Star Trek, she's conflicted and she's perfectly imperfect, and she stumbles, but she continues to lift herself up and continues to greet the day, even with the challenges.
And not stereotypical and not one-sided. And
I'm not interested in, being the concubine.
I love that you had that. I love that you had that, the passion for that when you first started out. Like, even just getting out of school, you were like, okay, and you hit the ground running.
Michelle, when you first started, maybe you could share something that you wish you had known when you first got out of BU that you know now.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been headstrong.
No.
But I think one of the things, which is what I said to the students at BU, is to remember that, first of all, to be your biggest fan. Be your biggest fan. If I'm waiting for someone to be my biggest fan, I may wait forever. They may never pick it up, right? So I need to come into a space knowing that I have something to offer, as strong as that is. I also like to say every time I walked onto a set, whether I was a day player, a guest star, a recurring, background, whatever, I came in with the same respect and intention as if I was number one.
Mm.
So my thing is, you're all number one. You're all number one. You don't have to wait till, you know, someone offers that or lets you know that that's who you are. You come into the space knowing that you have something unique to offer, and that's empowering. And I will say that during first season of Star Trek, Michael Chabon gave me some words that I have literally embraced and shared as much as I can. When I got the part, which by the way, I got through a self-tape. So anybody who's like, you know, I did 2 takes. The first take, I liked the beginning half, didn't like the back half. Second take, opposite, but I was just like, screw it, just send it. You know, I'm never gonna get this, just send it. And I literally got my audition from the I got the job from the self-tape, didn't have to, you know, test or anything. And when I was on set with Michael, I asked him, we were talking about auditions and self-tapes and Rafi and all this stuff. And I think I actually asked him, like, what was it about those tapes? Like, you know, what was it that you saw Rafi? And he said to me, when we watched your tape, you told us who Rafi was. That's big. That's big, because actors, we literally are trying to like please.
So busy trying to be what other people
so busy,
or what we think they want us to be.
That's exactly right, David, because how do we even know?
That's right.
I don't know what they want, but I'm trying for some reason to, like, you know, answer their question of who they want me to be. Don't do that.
Right.
Make a bold choice.
Richard Kind said, "I'm not for everybody.
Let
me tell you, but I'm me, and I'm always going to be me." You know, he's like,
right.
I do my thing, and you know, I'm either right for the part or I'm not. But I'm going to show you who I think the character is.
That's right. And if you think about it, it makes sense, because if I'm a writer, director, casting director, whatever, and I'm trying to cast this part, if you walk into a room confident, solid, telling me who the character is, well, my job's done. You know, I'm so thankful that you walked into the room. Now I don't have to cast that part. You got it.
Now, did you feel that when you first got out of school? Or did you know? It sounds to me like this activist was born there, like you didn't get what you wanted and you were going to make sure that people got treated with respect. And something else that I'm hearing you say, which you know, I've always felt, well, not always, but really I know now, is that there's only one Chris Rydell. There's only one Michelle Hurd.
That's exactly right. You know? And that should be celebrated.
There's only one David Allen Dash.
And
that's exactly.
And this is, you have to come into a room feeling like empowered and to love yourself.
And to love yourself.
And to make a bold choice and
that's
trust
exactly
that it's either right or wrong.
And Michelle, you know, I love. First of all, I love the honesty that you know, college was hard. College was oppressive. I don't think that's too strong a word. I love the honesty. Thank you. And with this wisdom that you started when you started your career, with this sort of drive and wisdom and tenacity, was there someone along the way that there, you know, earlier on that there was a good positive experience on a set or at an audition or something you could share with us? An actor who, you know, maybe you were a guest star on a set and an actor behaved really well and you were like, oh, I want to be like that person. Or someone who impressed you along the way, a producer or a director, someone who was kind but, you know, focused on the craft. Or anyone spring to mind about that?
You know, I know this is cheesy, but I would just say my father. My dad was an actor. My parents were both actors when they first met. And then when the kids got born, my mom was like, someone needs a steady job. God bless her.
Smart woman.
Smart woman, who, by the way, is 89 years old, as a psychologist, the premier biofeedback, neurofeedback woman in her career. And she still has a private practice. So
oh, hell yes, Mom.
Hell yeah. But my father had to experience a lot of challenges as a Black man in those days. And he often wouldn't let us see the plays that he was doing because he didn't want his daughters to see him as a butler or a step and fetch it kind of person, Uncle Tom. And there was real talk in our house, always. My father's also worked with Maya Angelou and Godfrey Cambridge, creating something called Matinee for Freedom, where they had Black artists come in and perform a cabaret in order to raise funds for Dr. King. So our household was always very conscious of civil rights and of injustice and trying to move the bar. So often we would have conversations about the food that's in the kitchen is the food that we're going to have for the month, because we don't have no more job, no money, and there it is. So from very young, I realized that acting and being in this is show business. There's a business aspect of it, and that can't be denied and should not be forgotten. So he really taught me, my family really taught me the value of the importance of artistry. One of the reasons that we watched Star Trek was because of Nichelle Nichols. My father also said he didn't want us watching shows that didn't have his children represented. And Star Trek was one of the main reasons that, we would sit down together, because there was a representation of a person of color. And truthfully, the concept that Star Trek has is inclusivity, diversity, immigration, otherisms, all the topics that we would talk about over the table. So to answer both of your questions, when I got out of school, I was so driven with, first of all, the desire to work and as an actor, because I had not gotten that in school. And I was acutely aware that it's a business and that I wanted to present myself as a professional. I knew that I suck at food services. I couldn't do waiting tables. I tried to go to a temp agency. They literally said, don't ever send that girl out again. She doesn't know what she's doing. I'm an actor. I'm an actor. Right. And I remember one of the first conversations actually that I had with Ken Slevin at Cunningham when they were in the interview. And I could tell, especially back in the day, the question that he was asking me, because he was like, so
he's going around it. He was,
what kind of category, blah, blah. And I know what that is. I know. You want me to, you want me to say, put me in blacks,
right? Put
me in black stuff.
Right.
He's asking me what's my ethnicity, right? What do you see yourself?
What characters will I play, right?
Exactly. And I knew he was saying that, and I let him and ha, because, either say it or, I'm not going to make your life easier when you're trying to ask me such a question. And my answer to him was, oh, what do you want me to ask? You want me to tell you what I think you should submit me for? Oh, okay. Anything that has copy. Because I said, I'm an actor. And I said, if you want me to get more specific than that, you could say I'm a native New Yorker.
There you go.
Because that's what again.
Right. You just want to
I don't have to, you will see what I look like.
Right.
That doesn't need to be my forward-facing invitation to our conversation. Hi, I'm a minority. That you've already made your judgment. Right. My job now is to let you see how much that can be a benefit.
Now watch what the character's supposed to be. Watch me. Let me show you. Let me solve your casting problem. Watch this.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Michelle, what I mean, you've worked so much. Maybe you could share with our listeners what you feel it means to be a working actor.
Well, first of all, I love being a working actor. That's the dream, right? But being a working actor is because I really want us to embrace this as a professional. This is a vocation. It's not a hobby. There's that running joke about, oh, I'm an actor. Oh, what restaurant do you work at? I understand that's cute, but it's not. It's condescending. Actors. We're acting even when we're not working. Trying to get a job is probably 95% of our job. And how do you keep yourself in a positive space to create, be able to create when you have negativity being, told that you didn't get the part continuously? That's all part of the work. I always used to say, when people say, what do you do when you don't get a job, or, when the day's not working for you, I go see some art.
Yeah.
I fill myself.
Fill the well. Yeah.
I fill the well with life. I talk with friends. I have a delicious meal of food that I've never tried before. I go to a museum. I try to infuse myself with artistry or life so that it can inform and and give me more layers with the choices that I take as an actor.
Such a good answer.
It's, and being a working actor is the best thing in the entire life. I mean, I say this, my husband's an actor as well, and Garrett and I talk about this often. We just said, sometimes when you come back from a job, you have that blue.
Right.
When you're about to go to a job, you're kind of blue because you don't want to leave your family. There's all this kind of crazy stuff. Trying to get the job is exhausting. Doing 12 pages in an overnight, next day self-tape is exhausting, all of that stuff. But the moments that you're in front of that camera or on that stage, in front of that audience, or in that booth, in front of that mic, and you are allowed to create,
that's it.
Woo, there's
That's
nothing like it.
That's why we come back.
That's why we come back. And now what's so amazing is the fact that I get to do that. I have that experience as well as being able to do some kind of activism work. Second season of Star Trek, we had first season, we had wonderful people in the hair makeup trailer. I felt totally taken care of. I love them all. There was nothing personal there. Everything's beautiful. Second season, I said to myself, I was like, Michelle, you have a little bit of stature. You now have to put some action where your words are. You need to advocate for people of color in the hair and makeup trailer. And it was, before season started, there was a little bit of like, and I was like, well, I guess let me take out my soapbox, step up on it, and start saying the words that need to be said. And, I'm so thankful that I have amazing producers and they listen to me, and we were able to get people of color in our hair and makeup trailer. And
that's brilliant.
A beautiful example of why I'm always interested in helping the many and not the few is, once again, I'm on the call sheet. No matter what, whether they're white, black, whatever, they're going to take care of me. I'm going to look fine. I'm interested in our guests, our recurring, and our background artists, because there's not one show, any content that's created these days that does not have at least people of color in the background, right?
Yep.
So we have a young actress, Ito, who played young Guinan, the Whoopi Goldberg part. And she came over to me on set one day after her shooting. And she said, I want to say thank you to you. And I said, why? She said, because I came to set today, like I come to every set I've ever done, with all my hair and makeup products in my suitcase. I opened the trailer door. I saw a woman of color, and I cried because I realized that for the first time, I only have to do my job. My job. So that, like in that moment, I'm like, this is why, by doing just a little bit of work, that's sometimes scary, and you maybe feel precarious and vulnerable, but it's so important because you help the many. And you change lives. The woman that I got in for the hair, for my hair lady, she's been working for 15 years in this industry. And for IATSE, you have to have a certain amount of numbers on a set to get your union, blah, blah, blah. She always was, just a couple of days short.
Shy,
For the first time in 15 years, because of Star Trek, she's now been able to she's in the union and she can do all union jobs. So fantastic. This is why it's imperative.
It makes a difference. That's spectacular. And I love that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And one of the things we talk about, I remember when my daughter was a little younger, she's 13 now, but when she was a little younger, especially, one of the things her school was talking about was that not only can you not just be a bystander, but you have to be something called an upstander, which is anytime you see someone in trouble, it's your job to help them. It's not a choice. There's no choice there.
Upstander.
You must try to help. Obviously, unless you put yourself in extreme physical danger or something like that, right? But you could go get help.
That's right.
Again, different for little kids, but you are an upstander. It's very clear that you will take any opportunity to help someone who needs help, to make representation matter, all of that.
And I love what you said there. And it's a big thing that I think people should always really take into their, just adopt is always ask, because there's two possible answers. Yes or no.
Yep.
But always ask. If you don't ask, yes, you don't even know.
And there's less important things to ask about, certainly, like, they won't budge on the money. They say it's top of show, which, by the way, I just can't say, for anybody listening, that's a lie. There's no such thing as top of show. It's actually a floor.
Yep.
That's a minimum. of
That's
what you
exactly right.
of what the producers have to pay the actor. It's not a ceiling, and they've co-opted this, and they all agreed, decades ago. Let's call it top of show.
That's exactly right.
And then the actors and the agents won't ask for more. So first of all, we just call bullshit on that, okay?
Bullshit.
But you could, if someone says we're only paying top of show or whatever, so ask if you can get a special appearance by. Ask if if you're just starting out, instead of a shared card, maybe you want to say, well, it's no skin off the producer's back. Can I get a single card? Right.
That's right.
And
That's
then
exactly right.
later on, when you show up on set, you're inspired by Michelle, and you say, there's the opportunity for me to be involved in casting, and I would like this to be a biracial couple, or I would like there to be trans representation on the show, or gender neutral or non-binary. So small things lead to bigger things. Let's talk about one big thing.
Yeah.
Before we, I know Chris wants to ask you sort of our special segment questions because they're very fun. But before we do that, we did mention when we were introducing you that you won the SAG-AFTRA President's Award for Union Service, and I want to read this entire paragraph because I think it's really, really important. And I'm just going to read it, and it just moves me greatly. So here it is. As a national board member, Hurd played a leading role in advancing efforts to remove sexual harassment and assault from the entertainment industry and make sets safer. As a member of the SAG-AFTRA President's Blue Ribbon Commission on Safety and the union's Sexual Harassment Work Group, she worked to provide resources to members who experienced sexual harassment and assault, and assisted in developing updated guidelines and policies to eliminate harassment and assault in the industry. Michelle's work led to the creation and the development of the Intimacy Coordinator Initiative and helped spur the creation of SAG-AFTRA Safe Place, a reporting platform that allows members to discreetly report incidents of sexual harassment. So I know there were other people involved, but I also know that you absolutely were a main driver of all of those changes, and I applaud you. I think those are such important areas. And
thank you for saying that.
We take a lot of that for granted when we're on sets.
Yes.
That it might not feel safe to everyone there, right? Especially me as a white man. Very easy for me to just be in my privilege and take that for granted. And it's I'm really astounded by what you were able to achieve. And also, just to go on record publicly, I've said this to you privately, you took a lot of shit from all sides, and you're incredibly strong and have such perseverance, but so much of that shit was just unnecessary political factions within SAG-AFTRA. After having merged the two unions, I thought, I was a national board member. I was a New York board member of AFTRA, rather, and I thought, oh, well, we pushed for merger, we got it all together, and now we're all going to behave as one. And it wasn't that, and I really was just disgusted by the way people felt that they could treat you, and the things that were said, and I was in your corner then, and so I need to say that publicly.
Thank you, David.
And thank God you were strong enough to persevere and just get this stuff done, and sets are safer because of you.
Thank you so much. Well, your gorgeous wife helped immensely in creating the booklet, and that was one of the things, by the way, I really, with all the drama and the bullshit and the vitriol that I went through and that I was witnessing in the room, what really hurt me was I was just like, are we forgetting that the purpose is to help the many on the set? We're all doing this kind of, just
so much finger pointing. There was
finger pointing, cruelty, and misinformation on purpose to try to get the different factions to win. Misinformation about safety. And literally, that's why I was like, I need to make at least a booklet so that actors can at least have in their hands their rights.
Yep.
I've just now with Allison Pill and another group of actors created the CDG, the Casting Design Guild, worked on another booklet called Fitting Room Practices to make sure that people are safe in the fitting room, because not only just cis individuals, but we have so many more trans individuals in our community now, disabled individuals in our community now, that those spaces have not been created to keep them safe. Thank you. He's wearing a shirt that says "Protect Trans Youth."
Yeah,
it's imperative.
but yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
the shirt I put on today. Yep.
it's imperative, you know, and we have to make those kinds of changes and adjustments. And I have to say, and you know, your wife knows this very well. After that, in that moment when I was receiving, you know, just cruelty, people yelling at me and being mean, I relied on my sisters who were doing all this work with me, and I also recommitted to the fact that I'm strong. I know who I am. I don't care what people are going to say about me. I'm still going to double down and make sure that we do the work to help the many. Because here's the deal, everyone. Predators aren't going anywhere. Predators have been here. They're here now, and they're going to be here till the end of time. So we need to plant strong, deep roots and grow solid oak trees as obstacles so that they don't have a clear vision to their prey. And if the only way that we can do that is by legislation in our contracts, so be it, because we're not going to be able to stop them. They're there, they're out here, they're, you know, I watch Forensic Files and, you know, all those things all the time. They're, you know, bad people are out there, but we have to do what we can to make it difficult for them to get to their prey and empower actors on their sets. And one of the things that I find, you know, like you were talking about uplifting, you know, of being an upstander, you know,
Yes,
speaking out. Right. When you're on a set, and especially if you're on the call sheet, I feel you have an obligation to look out for your cast and crew.
Yeah.
You need to stand up and speak out.
Yep.
If you see injustice, if you see an extra background artist who's wearing, like, you know, a bikini, and we're standing on set not shooting, walk over to that actor and say, "Do you need a cover up?
Do you want a robe?" Yeah, that's right.
Well, this is the beauty about being an actor. Not all actors are compassionate people.
Yeah.
But, you know, putting yourself in other people's shoes on a daily basis helps with learning how to be a compassionate human.
It's
and this is the beauty of being an actor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think everybody should maybe go do 2 years in some theater class and learn to be an actor, whether you want to be an actor or not.
That's right. Well, you said something very important, putting yourself in other people's shoes. This is one of the reasons why I find it's just incredibly important to have the diversity in the room. If you have all the different types of people in the room, you can answer every question.
Yeah.
You can answer all the questions.
Speaking of being in the room.
Yes. Good segue.
Maybe you could share with us your worst audition story.
That's right. And we asked this because of this commonality, right? That actors listening, whether they're established actors and they've known you for a long time and they're excited to hear this podcast, or whether they're just starting out or they're college students, whatever, and they're wondering, like, what the hell do I have in store for me, right? We want everyone to know that we all have a worst audition story.
Oh my gosh.
We have several,
Absolutely.
but today we have time for what you consider to be your worst audition
It's
story.
so weird because I'm trying to think of, like, you know, I mean, God knows I've auditioned a lot, and there's two things. I know you said one, but there's two that I kind of, and they're really quick.
Two is okay.
Thanks so much. And they're really quick, and it's the only thing that I could think of, because I was like trying to, like, what is my terrible things? Have I banished them from my memory? But there was one audition, and I remember it was over at Paramount, because I just remember like, because it was traumatic. So I think I remember the walking into Paramount, walking into one of those bungalows, and it was a casting director who I knew, and she, you know, we got along really well. And I can't remember, but I think the character was Irish. I think it was Irish, and I'm Jamaican. And so I do this audition, and, like, you guys, that dialect, she was just like, I don't even know. She went to Jamaica, Scotland, touched on Ireland, maybe did a little bit of the South somehow. And I finished the scene, and then we were both of us were silent, like just silent. And she looked at me, she went, "I love your shoes." And I was like, "I know." And then we just started talking about my shoes. Just started talking about my shoes. So yeah, that happens. And then I remember when I was doing a ton of television, and I started to to myself, I felt like I was developing some bad habits because, you know, you do a lot of television, you start to get kind of small. Yes, you get a little small and, you know, you're sort of like, you know, you get really intimate and you're talking here. And even if it's talking about like, I'm going to tell you that the world is about to explode, I'm just, oh, for some reason, I'm going to whisper that. Don't know why. You know, you could, you scratch yourself, you know, it's all very natural.
I was on stage, I was doing a play with Eli Wallach and it was just the two of us. And after about 6 or 8 months, I got a pilot in New York, and he was not happy and the understudy was fine, but we had a great relationship. So he was like, "You're leaving me," and I said, "I'll be back, Eli. I'll be back. It's 12 days. You know, I'm missing like 8 shows. It'll be fine." And anyway, I came back, and we're not even halfway through the first scene, and he turns his back to the audience and leans in and whispers to me, "Speak up, for fuck's sake! It's not television."
Oh my God.
And I was like, I was gone for 8 days, and all of a sudden I came back on stage and I was like saying my lines like this in the video.
Yes.
So it is easy to slip into bad habits.
It's literally what, like I told my agents, I said, you know, you guys got to start sending me out on theater auditions because I've gotten terrible. And they were like, no. And I was like, no.
So
I'm not saying I'm going to take them.
Tell us.
No, but it's literally that.
It's
literally that because I said, just send me out because there's nothing like the judgment that you experience when you go into a theater audition. It's unlike anything else. Truth. And I remember this audition. It was for like Winter's Tale, and I came in with her monologue, and I got there and I did the whole, you know, Shakespeare, and I do the whole thing and then there's again, I finish and there's a pause. Again, a silence and a pause. And the director's like, says, okay, all right. So let's do it again. And this time, why don't you use your voice and the words? And like that moment of like, copy. I'm an actor and someone just told me, could you use your voice and the words?
The other half of the instrument, please.
The other half, the most important, some might say. So, you know, and it's fine. Those kind of things happen.
Yeah, well, good reminders, I guess.
And it's a good reminder. And I just to, you know, for actors in general, I have been, you know, hired, I've been fired, I've been replaced, I've replaced friends, I've had jobs I thought were going to go on forever that stopped short. It doesn't matter. It's all fine. Everybody goes through it. It just makes you more knowledgeable, more informed about what can happen. Also, you know, my husband's an executive producer of the show that he's doing right now, Sprung, and I've become privy to that side of it. It sometimes just doesn't fit. Something that's happened doesn't fit. The story goes a different way. Yeah. So those moments don't mean that you're over, that you failed. It just is a learning experience. You know, dust yourself off, pick yourself up, go see a movie, go to the museum, and move on.
Yep. And
chalk it up as knowledge.
Chalk it up as knowledge.
Right. And you have to think for a second that, you know, maybe the person that was in there before me had the exact same experience. They were like, "Oh, like your shoes," you know? Or
that's right.
You know, use your voice. You know, it's like sometimes we feel like we're the only one. That everybody else was amazing.
That's right.
You know,
that's right. You hear that, guys? You are not the only one.
That's right.
Speaking of, just to, you know, I'm from a 2-actor household, and you're from a 2-actor household, and Michelle's husband, Garrett Dillahunt, is also a spectacular actor who I had the pleasure of doing a very silly pilot with many years ago.
It was fun, though.
Very silly pilot of remake of Mr. Ed that went absolutely nowhere. As soon as they changed from the horse being the voice of Chris Rock to being the voice of Sherman Helmsley, we had a feeling that it changed in tone. But I thought your husband was an absolute delight to work with back then. He was silly and funny and collaborative, and I've not had the chance to work with him since, but maybe we'll get him on the show. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
And look, you've told us so much, and usually we end with, what's your best piece of advice? I mean, we've heard from you. I'm more interested in helping the many and not just the few. No matter the size of the role, you come to set with the same respect and intention and preparation as if you're number one on the call sheet. And
exactly.
Just so many good pieces of advice. Is there one other thing you want to offer to anybody that's listening?
Well, the biggest fan, be your own biggest fan, is is one of the big ones. But just know that your work contributes to, in such a profound way, the health of our society. Art is so healing. And when you can have the opportunity to give the voice to many that are possibly silenced or don't have that. And when you're on a platform, take advantage of that. It doesn't hurt you. It only helps the others. Be an advocate for the, if you see injustice, be an advocate, be an activist, use your platform, use this beautiful gift of being in the industry to uplift us and bring us all to a better place.
Wow. Yeah, we got to add in more sound effects. You broke the podcast. We don't have enough positive celebratory sound effects.
So many positive things to take away from this 45 minutes with you, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. We wish you well. I know you said the third season of Star Trek Picard will be able to be viewed soon.
February, I think February 16th.
All right, fantastic. And anything else that's coming on down the pipe? I know you finished, what was it, The Plus One? That was some film you finished recently. And
Plus One, playing Cedric, the entertainer's wife. I just did a film, which was so fun. He's so fun. I just did a film with Graham McTavish down in Montana called Somewhere in Montana. And I'm actually about to go to Atlanta to shoot an indie film on a true case of called this young lady, Kimba Smith, is a young woman who got herself into a situation with a guy who happened to be a drug dealer. She was not a drug dealer. She just whatever. Then he killed someone, and he was found.
The girlfriend law coming into
and
play.
She, exactly. And she was sentenced because he was dead to 26 years to life for just being in the house of a. So this is a lovely moment for that. I can take and utilize being part of the artistry and being an actor, but also elevating inequities and injustice. So.
I love that. I think that's going to be fantastic. I saw a movie called The Sentence, which was made by a filmmaker named Rudy Valdez. I saw it. We had a film at the Nantucket Film Festival, and The Sentence was there as well. And we met Rudy, and it's similarly, it's about his sister's 15-year sentence for conspiracy charges that were based on the boyfriend-in-law, a deceased ex-boyfriend, and they came to her door to arrest her and incarcerate her. I think a year after the boyfriend had been imprisoned and or killed. And this was his sister. So he made this documentary about his sister. So I love that. And then it kind of fell out of the public eye. So I love that you're making this film. I think that's a really important.
Very important. Very important.
Important topic.
And isn't it a gift that we have that opportunity as artists to amplify and to tell stories that really need to be kept in the social mind, as well as to change the change actions moving forward. It's a gift. It is a gift.
It was a gift to speak to you today. Thank you for sharing the gift of your time with us.
Thank you, David. So good to see you. So good to meet you, Chris. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much. It has been an honor to meet you too.
Thank you.
Michelle Hurd.
Again, Chris, I'm no self-promotion. We are not going to ask people to like us or subscribe.
No, absolutely not.
Or leave a good review. We shouldn't ask that. It would take people like 15 or 20 seconds to do that, and people are busy. They don't have that kind of time right now just to go down to Apple and be like, I really like these guys. They have great guests. And we got another great guest coming up next week, so be sure to tune in again to Confessions of a Working Actor.